All right, let's go see what the papers have for us. And I'll be starting with The Guardian newspaper. Cash and carry. Interesting. Very familiar term. Public engagement. Debate fading as vote buying rules pose. Cash and carry. The Guardian has that on the front page. Public engagement. Debate fading as vote buying rules pose. And you can see a very popular and powerful ballot box there. And, some very important figures in different political parties. Former Kano Governor Engineer Rabiu Musakwa Kwanso of the NNPP, his successor Umar Ganduje, that's of the APC, Mr. Damagum of the PDP, and of course Abure of the Labour Party. Is he still of the Labour Party, Mr. Abure?
Is still of the Labour Party.
Very well. Cash and carry, public engagement, debate fading. And Sokoto local government chair alleges 1 million youth inducement from new terrorist group. This is one thing that we should not, take lightly. Sokoto local government chair alleges 1 million youth inducement from new terrorist group. Who are they? Does he have a fact? He should be speaking with those who should be responsible, talking about the military, the NSA on this matter. Not that we are not talking about his arrest, but then this is one thing so that we don't breed, another Boko Haram and ISIS and all of these guys just, on the shores of our land. Now, minors freed on humanitarian conditions, says federal government as NAPS offer scholarship. Interesting. Humanitarian conditions. The regulation not licensed to blend off-spec products, says Dangote. The war of words continues. Statement upon statement. Dangote is saying he has the cheapest around, these axes. And if anybody is bringing in any petrol, from outside the country to the country, then most likely that PMS might be off-spec, might be adulterated. And many persons are not taking that line low because they feel you don't have to demarket other persons or, other businessmen with their decisions, just because you want your own to be what to be bought. Wait to see. CGN laments rising vulnerability of Nigerians, firms to cyber attacks. And federal government pledges to cushion hardship, boost MSMEs. Promise. Rising energy demand, vandalism affecting grid stability, says expert. Somebody said that on this program a few days ago, last week. 16-year-olds now eligible for tertiary education as federal government reverses age policy. Will let the new minister in charge of education now has quashed that initial policy and said 16 is good to go. I think that's a fair call, right?
Well, it is, but it's the back and forth for me, Femi, really, because it's given, once you're in charge of a ministry, you are the alpha and omega of that ministry. You do not answer to Mr. President. What was Mr. President's stance on this particular matter when Professor Tahir Mamman was the Minister of Education? How come we are having a reversal when this new Minister of Education is coming in? Is it that Professor Tahir Mamman never spoke to the President about trying to
he has the ministry to run. Must he speak with the president?
He's working for Mr. President.
Well,
he's put in charge of that ministry on behalf of Mr. President because Mr. President cannot be everywhere.
Right.
And for a policy that is as grave as this, I should say, policy that is as huge as this,
weighty,
that is as controversial as this, I think the presidency's input is needed. Yes, I know he is in charge of that ministry as an advisor also to Mr. President, to tell Mr. President, this is why we must do this, and this is why we must do that. But if the president is not convinced, though, I mean, it's just giving a disconnect between the president's aides or his ministers and him.
Cabinet, yeah. But the new sheriff in town has said, scratch that. Maybe 16 is fair.
So are we saying if we have another minister and he feels 16 is not fair, he should put it at 20? He will go ahead and put it at 20.
And that's why many persons said it that the issue, that policy Because the former minister, Professor Taye Mamman, said it wasn't a new thing. It has always been there.
Yeah.
But, policies are always reviewed.
Yeah.
And whenever these decisions are taken, should not be taken lightly or unilaterally.
Exactly.
There should be a stakeholders engagement every time. A new guy has gotten in there and is reversing that policy, just like you said. Okay, if he's booted out or transferred for that ministry, another person might come and say 13 of 20 or 18 people, stakeholders should always be spoken to on this matter. But that will be all from The Guardian.
Let's head on to Nigerian Tribune this morning. And of course, the big, bold caption there focuses on education and the 18-year age limit for admission into tertiary institutions. FG versus 18-year age limit for admission into tertiary institutions. With the rider, Minister hints on review of national education policy, warns tertiary governing council against floating extant roles. That's on page 4 of Nigerian Tribune. Last mile officers set ablaze in Lagos. Femi, I don't know if you have seen that video.
I saw that
but
video.
it's indeed worrisome.
Horrendous.
And it will make you cringe at what a frustrated man can do, because it didn't just set the last mile officer ablaze, it also in a way almost set his boss ablaze. And people are saying it is not trying, we should not see it as him trying to evade arrest. This is a man who probably is frustrated with the economic situation, and when you have so many things bottled up in your mind, at the slightest trigger you tend to just flare up or blow up, and that's it. There was a time where a bike man went stark naked when he wanted to be arrested by FRSC. So
he's telling them, it's like, you don't know what I've gotten through. You won't take this bike. You won't take me.
And this should actually speak to those at the helm of affairs, that a lot of people are going through hard times, and they are just a step away from going mad.
Yeah, exactly my thought. Just that thin line is being crossed now, and people just doing it. But then that's not to explain away that you can choose to do what is wrong, and then you just blame it on the economy, and you want to just move mad just because you have done something that is wrong. But then I think there is a greater call, the bigger picture, which you have spoken to know that ordinarily, if people are in their best frame of mind and things are working, even if they will evade arrest, it won't be to the point of getting themselves killed, because somebody that's trying to do that as sin, the means of livelihood is the boss. That could have been burnt. He could have been burnt himself and burn another person. That's to the extreme. It just shows the frame of mind of many Nigerians to say, at the slightest show of any pressure, they are ready to lose it all.
Exactly.
Such a sad situation. Really.
All right. Of course, the government in Lagos State last month has actually asked for or called for the arrest of that bus driver. But
the guy that was caught on fire, that had to just pull off the dress, was that the bus driver or the last man guy?
The last man guy.
Oh, really?
Oyebanji appoints Justice Ogunmoye as acting chief judge. That's in Ekiti State. And I am satisfied with my achievements in 8 years, says Governor Obaseki. Tinubu promotes acting chief of army staff Oluyede to lieutenant general. Remember that Oluyede is acting on behalf of Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja, who is away outside of the country on medical grounds. We wish him, quick recovery. Why Tinubu's economic policy is more workable than Atiku, says Omokri. Reno Omokri speaking there. At top strip, Nigerian Tribune, FG moves to curtail negative net assets of 39 trillion naira. Riders here says to enforce compliance, sanction airing MDAs, Murphy to register all FG's assets. Fear of post-election unrest in the United States as tensions rise. We spoke to Prince Kami Ademoli yesterday and Dr. Femi Adefila, and remember Prince Kami saying that it's not like we might have a repeat of what happened in 2020 if Trump doesn't win. We will have, there might be, okay, so he said I shouldn't say might. He said there will be a repeat if Trump doesn't win, because he has already started singing that same song he sang 2020. But then it's the United States. It's touted as, a country that respects the rule of law, the hub of democracy. Exactly. And we wish the people of the U.S. well. The results are already trickling in, Harris in some states and Trump in some other states, but it's left for the big results to be announced, and also the Electoral College to make a decision. And bad governance protests, court strikes out treason charges against minors. IGP orders probe into their welfare in detention. Double riders, why Tinubu ordered their release. This is coming from VP Shatima. And Falano advises president to enroll them in schools. It's good that they've been released. It's given the optics. I remember when the police PRO was talking, he said, no, those guys that fainted, it's just a script. They were made to a stage. They counseled to the government when they spoke. He said, you see those guys, they are not minors, they are fathers. They are people's husbands. So how come people's husbands and graduates are being said to be enrolled in school? People's husband, fathers are said to go back to school. I mean, you can see the disconnect.
Yeah, that was what I said earlier, because I saw some faces that truly didn't look like minor, but maybe it's a blend of both age grades.
But that will be all from Nigerian Tribune.
And quickly, well, the Punch newspaper, nationwide blackout as grid suffers 10th collapse in 2024. And the national grid should just be left in the ICU.
One collapse for 1 month each month. I mean, if you see, exactly in the
sadly,
next month.
And that's more like eight collapses in 2 weeks, thereabout. The thing will collapse and get to 0.0 megawatt. And then, the technical guys will start tracing it and all of these again. The NUEE chairman or president spoke to vandalism and, many things that are responsible for these. But it's a shame, actually, whatever is responsible for these, a 64-year-old country as is national grid collapsing at every, if I blow breeze like this to the national, and it is a sad thing, actually. Nationwide blackout as grid suffers 10th collapse in 2024. Generation drops to 0 megawatts. 22 gencos affected nationwide, and partial power in southwest, meaning some other parts of the country must know fully well that the north, a substantial part of the north, are still in darkness in spite of the collapse before even this particular one. And we're to see now over 300 billion are lost in protest. Shetima tells released hungry miners in parentheses now, and you could see them. Freedom is sweet, beaming with smile. When they were hanging on to this van yesterday, I saw the video. Many of them were, apprehensive to know what was going to happen. Possibly they've gotten the news, but they are not yet sure until they were told to go. And you see many of them get down from that van, bowing their head, according to their religion, say thank you. But then we to see as well, many persons will say, either they'll be released or released on bail or discharged or whatever it is. There should be more like, any person I've talked about education, like a very total address to them on knowing what to do, on the reason why they should not be used as tools in the hands of politicians or anybody setting them against themselves or even public infrastructure. These are some of the issues as well. Now, away from that, stakeholders hail reversal of 18 years policy for varsity admissions, and Lagos driver flees after setting last mile officer on fire. Two things for me, we spoke about earlier. When that issue happened and, everything was in flames on that person and he was fighting for his life, I saw the video. One truck was passing, a tanker, and the guy was almost hit. At that point, he wasn't seen. It was about survival. When he finally removed that thing, the van of the last mile guys took off. And they left their guy.
That's all that.
That's what happened. The guy was battling for his life. The guys that were in the front, the last mile guys, took their vans and kicked
It's
off.
survival for them.
And left it. You know, possibly
Yeah.
they were fearing that this thing could just, oh yeah, if that one would die, at least the other 4, other 5 will not die. What happened to camaraderie? What happened to be a comrade, you know, on that particular matter? But what stands out for me is a very sad one. The person that took that video, that viral video now, how many persons in that place, while that guy was fighting for his life, they were laughing. If you could see that picture again, people were like, ooh,
Femi,
like, God catch him, that kind of a thing.
This speaks to...
He's still a human being.
Yes, yes.
In flames, literally in flames.
Yes.
And people were laughing.
I mean, I went through the, you know, different social media accounts where that video was uploaded, and I tried to read through the comments of Nigerians if I would see a particular comment sympathizing with the guy. But, you know, most of the comments I read on social media are like, oh, this is even good. You know, this is how they behave. You know, still putting the blame on the last mile officials, because and this speaks to the disconnect between the Nigerian people and the security agencies. People now see security agencies and their personnel as an enemy of the people.
Enemy of the people.
And I think that should even bother any right-thinking government than what happened should bother us, but it should bother us that the people are happy when an officer of the law is in distress, when an officer of the law... I mean, it's a sad situation.
Payback time. And I think it's a wake-up call for all of us, you know, the humanness in all of us to know that even if you don't like that person doesn't really have to die, except the person is after your life. Okay, that's number one. Number two is that the agencies themselves need a lot of education and advocacy and public image mending, you know, because, many persons might be happy, but many persons have seen the last man, and the problem is there to say they are enemy of the people. Many persons have been saying it's last mile guys that trick them into crossing the road. One of them will be, or two of them will be in mufti, and they will trick you to say, oh, don't worry, madam. And then you cross the road. You are wrong, by the way, for crossing the road, and you see there are guys waiting at the other end, and they couch you just to make money. I think we have a lot of things to do on this matter. And finally, sex tapes. Equatorial Guinea installs CCTV in offices, suspend officials. This is one situation. In fact, I was flipping through my phone yesterday. That guy's face keep appearing at every corner.
It's trending.
I was like, what's happening to my algorithm? Everywhere. One flip, you see the guy's face. This guy in question, notorious, you know, by his escapades and whatever has done. Maybe in other programs we'll look into that. And that will be what we can take at this on this segment today. We take a break, and when we come back, we speak to the nation. You know, what is happening? What has happened? The institutions that we have, how strengthened it is. Leaders in power, whatever sway that they owe, can they wield anything that they like just because they don't like the face of somebody? We're speaking to the former CGN matter, Melord Water Onoye, retired, and what transpired under the last administration, and his accusance yesterday when he was discharged and acquitted of any wrongdoing, even though he was removed, you know, in office unceremoniously. This will form the fulcrum of our next conversation. It's Morning Spring. Stay with us.